All right, good morning slash good afternoon. It's Mr. Reed coming at you live. Um, so let's talk quickly about our wrapping up culture and then moving on to transformation. And today will be the last concept that I'm going to be working with you guys for the interpretive maladies. And this is also going to be the very last screencast video that I'm going to be doing for this year. So, talk a little bit about what's coming up ahead of beyond just this text. We're going to be talking about a formative, a creative project, if you will, that I'm going to have you guys do. Something hopefully fun that you can make something meaningful out of and be a little reflective on the different concepts and larger ideas that we've been dealing with in this course. And then looking ahead, also talking a little bit about the exam and what that's going to look like. We'll talk about that next class. So, um, last class we talked a little bit about the cultural components of the interpretive maladies, and I shared this slide with you, a partial aspect of this slide, talking a little bit about how Hinduism is brought into the text and that there's allusions to religion and as an extension of sort of the cultural aspects of this text. So, filling this out for you, we actually had some good conversation with some students about this. But the wheels are supposed to symbolize the wheel of life, Mr. Das reads. They depict the cycle of creation, preservation, and achievement and realization. Right. So there's this stage, there's this transformative stage in a sort of way that's being presented in this temple, and that's actually reflected in the construct of the plot and characterization of this text. So this is a really kind of a higher order type of concept here, but it's equated in how Lahiri writes the story, and it's also reflected in the characters. So Mrs. Doss's own values are highly symbolic and are similar to the wheels of the temple, right? So Mrs. Doss's own character and some of the environment and sort of the symbolism in the story is reflective of the wheels on the temple. Her impressions of Mr. Das grows with time over the story, as do Mr. Kapasi's own fascination and fantasies of Mrs. Das. Miss Das' secret about Bobby's father, her willingness to share, and then her failed attempt at accepting truth for what it is. And so there's sort of this realization that she's unwilling to embrace it, but she knows that this is the truth, that this is something that she sort of buries deep down inside of her. And so you can see it does mirror in a lot of ways the symbolism of the temple itself. So that's kind of a crazy, cool concept. Just wanted to bring that up and share that with you guys and see kind of the layers and depth in Lahiri's writing. All right, last concept, transformation. This is going to be broken down to two parts. The first part is just kind of a basic exploration into the development of a character based on plot or conflict. We've done this a lot in the past, so this is just kind of a simple looking of observation of how character development works over the course of a text. So transformation part one is a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance based on internal or external experiences, right? So there are challenges that a character faces that allows for them to transform in different ways. That could be both internal or external based on the conflict. So your attendance work, which I'm going to post down here, it's a pretty straightforward assignment today. I'd like you to just discuss one form of transformation you see in a character. It can be any character in interpretive maladies. So it might be a change in belief, it could be a value, or maybe it's an idea. And how did the setting of the novel contribute to this transformation? So remember that we kind of treat setting as if it's almost like a character in a lot of our stories because it has such an incredible significance to the impact it has on a character. So make sure that you pull your, whatever example you end up using, just make sure that you pull a page number and then you provide the direct quotation. Moving ahead, once you've done that, I'd like you to go ahead and do the second part of the transformation. And this is more in tune with what you're going to be studying in IB next year. And the way we're going to do this is, instead of us doing more attendance work or doing more paper style type of writing, I'm going to have you guys do a creative piece. And I'll talk about that in a second. But real quickly, the transformation, the act of reading is potentially transformative in itself, both for the text and the reader. Different readers may transform a text with their personal interpretations, right? So the way we process meaning and how we understand helps us learn something new or gain new insights. And that in itself, the process of reading, is transformative. That's a really powerful thing. The text can also have an impact on the reader, which potentially might lead to an action and to the transformation of reality. So when we learn new things and we see new things, we act on those experiences. And that unto itself is a transformation. So this is a formal formative, right? And this is an opportunity for you guys to reflect. We're going to, again, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to have some time to work on our final exam. But I also want you to carve a little bit of time out to do something meaningful for yourselves here, because you've been in this course for the year. We've covered so many different concepts at this point. We've just covered such a wide swath of different readers. We've learned all these new concepts like the post-colonial lens. And I really want you to actively think about how this course applies to your own life, right? So we're experiencing right now, as I talk and as you sit listening to this on your computer at home, we are part of a massive event that is going to have lots of transformative implications to it, right? We're kind of witnessing a pretty monumental moment that's going to have a lot of effects on how we process information, how we see things. And we're living it day to day as well. It's not just over the course of how many months this is. So I would like you to think about how we can take the concepts that we've been talking about in this course and then plugging that into something beyond just the framework of this class. So transformation in perspective or concepts for a reason. And it feels like the reason is very much in our faces today. We have all retreated into isolation, removing ourselves from the fray of contagion. And in doing so, we are all witnessing and experiencing a transformative process as the world morphs into something dramatically different than it once was a couple weeks ago. It's kind of crazy to think about. And what I'd like you to do for me is that I'm going to have you guys today, once you finish your transformation work, I'd like you to produce a vignette, which is, I've provided a couple links down here to talk about what that is, but it's supposed to encapsulate a moment in your life. So I'd like you to think about something that has been transformative. It could be coronavirus. It does not have to be coronavirus. But a really powerful transformative moment in your life. And a vignette captures that in a couple and under about 1,000 words, right? So ideally, we're looking at between, let's say, about 300 to 1,000 words. It's a time frame. Could be anywhere from a split second, or a vignette could also string together a couple of moments that go together. It focuses on particular details in a story, right? So it's just, again, kind of that moment, but it's obviously you're writing a lot about that particular moment, observations that you're making. You're providing some context and detail, talking about the time and the place, right? You can go ahead and read more of this. But today is to start thinking about, I'd like you to pick one of these prompts, and I'd like you to go ahead and write for me between 300 to 1,000 words, right? And don't worry about structure. Don't worry about the style right now. The idea is just to kind of get it down on paper for me, right? And again, reflect on something that is meaningful to you. I want you to pick something, I want you to do something that's special to you. So, draft out a quick description of the moment, right? Turn that moment into something that you could share with others. The idea behind this assignment is that you're going to then take your vignette, which is 300 to 1,000 words, and the following class, you're going to take that and you're going to change that into a format that's a lot more creative in nature, right? So today's all about kind of getting it down on a piece of paper. The following day, you're going to do that, and you can take your vignette and transform that into a memoir, or maybe a poem or graphic design, something that's visual. I've got some songs you can do. These are all examples of things I've pulled from the internet, so feel free to check these out, right? Or if you want to do more simple to the point essay, that's fine as well. If you want to do a flash memoir, that's a cool one. Some really cool examples here. The final product, this is going to be due on the very last day of school. So before you take your exams, right? And again, this isn't here to create more work or stress you out. This is actually just kind of aside from preparing for your exam, just having a little opportunity for you to kind of siphon off and do something fun and creative. So the final product that you're going to turn into me, you can go ahead and send this to my email. And again, I'll write down some more specific instructions. You're going to produce your creative piece, and then you're going to write for me just a brief 100-word write-up about your piece. And that will be your formal formative, right? In your write-up, I'd like you to go ahead and tell me about how your piece reflects your own transformation and how that experience shaped your perspective. Okay? So that's it. The grand scheme of things, I'll of course provide a little bit more detail per day for your instructions, but of course feel free to email me if you have questions, or we can chat on Zoom. All right?